Hi everyone. In this video, I'm going to show you how to create Geodatabase, a feature dataset, and also how to set the domains and any attributes. So here we open the catalog. So I open catalog here like that. So I'm going to create a geodatabase, new geodatabase, file geodatabase, and I'm going to call it project project keen, something like that, project keen, and the naming has to be short enough. The name has not be long, less than 13 characters, as you know. So now we are going to create what we call a feature dataset. A feature dataset stores one coordinate system. So let's say, for example, you have three projects. You have a project in Keene, you have another project in um, Vermont, you have another project, let's say, in Connecticut. So each area will have its own project. So whatever you do, so if you are dealing with Vermont, you need to create a feature data set for Vermont. If you're working with Connecticut, you create a separate feature data set for Connecticut, and so on and so forth. So, which means that in one geodatabase, you can have multiple feature data sets. In this particular case, we are going to create just one for key. So, right click, new feature data set, and this one we call it, let's say, project one, something like that, and you go to next, and the coordinate system is NAD 83 State Plain, New Hampshire. So click next, and you click next, and you click finish, and now you are all set. Now we've just created project one. The next step is to create. So now we are going back to the geodatabase, and and we're going to set the properties for the geodatabase because we want to create domains. So right click, properties, and so the domains here, when you see this window or menu, here the domain is like a field name, so it has to be short, no space. So let's say it's like a field, all right? So let's say we say, okay, uh, temp low, which means average low temperature in Fahrenheit. This is a monthly temperature for Keene. Let's say for Keene. So we also can say temp high, which means average high temperature in Fahrenheit. And we want to also look at land use, land use, and this is land cover class, something like that. You can also add 2001 if you are using an imagery that was or a classification that was made based on data collected in 2001, for example. So you can do as many fields or as many domains as you want. So for temperature, because it's going to be a number, so we go down here, domain properties, field type. The field type should be float, because the float will allow us to make room for decimals, right? So domain type is going to be a range. Notice that there's also coded value. Coded value is when, for example, you have a text and you want to like shorten names for things, then you can use them over and over. So this one is a range. So let's say that the minimum average low temperature can go from 9 to 57, and and I found this on the internet, so there's no magic in that. Um, and so here I think we are done. And so we go also for temperature. We do the same. It's gonna be a float. It's gonna be float, and the range for high temperature is gonna be 31. For example, 31 to something like 83, something like that. And then we're going, we don't hit OK, we keep going. We click on this land use, we select land use. And for land use, we are going to, because it's, we are going to talk about classes, it's not a number. So we're going to choose, instead of float, we are going to choose text. And then the domain is going to be coded values. So now we can, for example, just say like the WAT can simply mean water, and we can, for example, the FOR can be forest, and for example, TRA can be, for example, transportation, and for example, AGR can be agriculture, all right. Just limit ourselves to that, and then once we are done for the three, so let's check again. This one, yes. This one, yes. This one, yes. And this one, yes. Though everything is fine now. So let's hit apply and hit OK. Now we so this will allow us to enter there without making mistakes. Let's say we are sampling an area and we decide which which land cover. So we just click on the drop down menu and we choose. So you'll see that shortly. So now we have a feature dataset here. Remember, we set the property, the domains within the geodatabase, not within the feature dataset. All right. So we are going to now to use the dataset to create a new feature. We are going to go in new feature class, and it's going to be, for example, stations. Let's say stations, like okay, stations, and these are going to be like a local stations, something like that. And it's going to be a point, can be a polygon point if you are dealing with something that has a polygon. This is the point in this particular case, and keep it next. Now you see this table. Before you hit finish, there's this table. That's where actually you decide which fields you are going to use. And remember, we have three fields. We have a field called temp low. It doesn't have to be temp low. It can be temp only, or temp 1, or temp 2. It doesn't have to be necessarily the same, written spelled out the same way we did for the geodatabase properties. So and the geometry for the temperature is going to be float, and we are going also to say temp high, and it's going to be also a float. And remember, we create another one called land use. It's going to be also not a float, but it's going to be a text, right? So now we have set these fields. The next step is to connect this new feature class to the properties we set in a geodatabase. For example, if we go to low here, allow null values, uh, no, no null values, default values. Well, here, when it comes to default values, it's up to you to decide whether the default value is going to be um, is going to be you know, a certain number or certain value. But the problem is when you miss entering some data, the software is going to populate the space with a defaulted value, and you'll never know that you're missing that data. So I will probably recommend to type something like 999. This is like to show missing values. And if for some reason you are sorting your data and you find out that some of the values look like this, you know that it's a missing value. You know that there's no data for this value, right? Okay. All right. For the domain here, you need to click here and you choose for temperature low. All right. And this is it. And so if you go to temperature high, you do the same null value. No, we don't want null values. Default values, we are going to put 999 as missing data. And then for the domain, we're going to choose temp high. All right. And then go to land use. For land use, null value, allow no values. No, we don't want that. Default value. Um, default value can be something like here it's a room actually where you can put the default value when you're, especially when you're dealing with text. You can, for example, put the most dominant class, like the most dominant class cover, which is, for example, AGR, agriculture, and then the length here. You can decide the length to be um, um, usually we don't want some people to do like it's fine here. You know, you can make like 10 something like that. The domain, for the domain, you can use land use, okay? And then you go finish. Actually, the length here should be 3. Let's put it 3. You're going to finish, and then you go close. All right. So now you are pretty much done. So now local station. So now it comes to a time when we need to actually start digitizing or editing. So we can zoom in within Keen. Let's say we can say, okay, let's just zoom in enough so that we can see some features here. You can, for example, just an example, okay? You can say, okay, right click, edit features, start editing. We are editing our new and then continue, and so we go to editor, we click here, create features. In editor toolbar here, we click here and then we choose that, okay, and then we can close that to have space. So this is water, for example. Okay, this is water. So if I go to the editor toolbar attribute table, which is this one, I click on that, and you can see that for the water, the land use here is I can click here. When I click here, I can see the categories I set in a geodatabase. So I can decide it's water. So you don't really need to type anything. For low temperature, let's set it to be you type in something like here you don't choose from a list. You type in. So for low temperature, let's say put like a 10. Okay. high, you put something like 40, okay, and uh, and okay, you are done. All right, so now you are going to select another layer. This is water. So let's say this about this. This is transportation, and then you go back to the attribute, transportation. It's transportation. You choose that one, and for temperature, say low. Let's say low is I don't know. Low you can make 40, and then high you can make 80. Uh, 80, and then you are done. We can do so many things here. And then let's go to something like this, and we decide it's a forest. So you go here, and it's gonna be it's forest, and then for low, let's say you for low you put something like a 7. We know low start with 9, so 7 is an error, and then temperature high can still be something like 67, something like that, and they are done. And we need to do something also that is something like agriculture. Agriculture. Let's just assume something like a place like this. We say it's agriculture. Well, we are going to go to the attribute there, click, it's agriculture, and then for low, let's put 10, 12, and 24, and high. Let's just put high, average high as 100. This is an error because I know it's beyond that. So okay, and then we are with that, and then the next step is to see, okay, is everything okay here? Can we check? All right. So then you go here, um, sorry, you go to editor, and you click on validate features. When you click on validate feature, field temp high attribute value 100 is not within the range of 31 and 83 of range domain. Okay, all right. Okay, so we go back to see how we can change that. Well, we could go back, we could just go here, open attribute table, and see this is not within the range. So we need to fix that. We need to fix that. All right. We need to fix it at um, maybe we know, maybe after checking the field we realize that it was a mistake. So it comes like 77, 77. Okay, and then we we save editor, save edits, and then we want to check again, validate features. All features are valid. It means that they are within their range. All right. So all right. Um, you could do multiple fields. You could do precipitation. You could do um, um, pollution. You could do whatever, as long as something is within the the values, the main that should work. All right. So this is it, and we can go to editor, save edits, editor, stop editing. Um, Remember that also you could import, when you import an Excel spreadsheet and you attach it, you bring it to the a file. You join the table to an existing shape file. You need to go back to the properties of the geodatabase, um, where the shapefile is, and also and check, validate. You need to go in editing mode to be able to validate the range and stuff to make sure there is no no error, right? So I hope you enjoyed this video.